What's up and welcome to the channel. My name is Hagshot and thank you for joining us. Today we're going to do a comparison between the P365 XL and the CZ P10S. I'm going to tell you everything I know about them, pros and cons, all of that good stuff, and let's go ahead and jump right into it. And I would like to thank our patron of the week, a guy that probably needs no introduction at all, Jarhead6. He's been a patron of mine for like 29 months. That's huge, man. The guy is an awesome guy. Go over. I'm going to leave a link down to his channel in the description box and in the comment section. If you're not familiar with Jarhead, which you probably are, but if you're not, I'm going to leave a link to his channel because he's an awesome guy. So he's been a patron of ours for a long time, and I appreciate his support. P365 XL, it's been out for a few months now. CZ P10S has been out for longer than that. And they're both 12-round guns. You're going to get 2 magazines with each. Paperwork, you know, cleaning rod here, there, all that good stuff. I'm not going to show you the boxes and all that. If there's something I missed in this review, by the way, I am going to leave cards up above for y'all, so you can just click the cards, go over and check out those individual reviews in case there's something I miss in this comparison. But we're going to cover a lot. Let's go ahead and get started with specs. The P365 XL barrel length is 3.7 inches. Overall length is 6.6 inches. The weight is 20.7 ounces unloaded. Height is 4.8 inches, and the width is 1.1 inch. All right, so this, of course, is the optics-ready version of the P365, and it's got 2 more rounds, and it's got a different trigger in there. And then you got the CZ P10S, which is the smaller brother of the CZ P10C, and really smaller brother than the CZ P10F, which is the full-size gun. So this one, 3.5-inch barrel, 1.26 inches wide. All right, so definitely wider. A little bit shorter barrel, though. Weight is 24.4 ounces unloaded, so a little bit heavier. Length, 6.5 inches overall. And height is 4.6 inches. So let's compare these side by side, slide to slide. So if we put the slides and match those up, you can see the CZ is actually a little bit longer, but it's interesting because they both are 6.5 inches in overall length. So of course this beaver tail on the Sig is being counted. And then when you actually line those up, let's do that. You can see they are essentially the same exact length, okay? Let's look at the widths there. About 1/10 of an inch difference between the two. You can definitely tell it in the way they look, that the Sig is a little bit skinnier. And then let's put them on their backs. All right, so the CZ, what CZ says is that their height is 4.6 inches, whereas Sig is saying theirs is 4.8. The only real difference I can see, and I'm going to turn that towards the camera so y'all can see what I'm seeing, is this little bit of difference right in there. And that does not look like 2/10 of an inch to me. I mean, that's a really small number anyways. So for all intents and purposes, they look like the same height. And again, 12-round mags on both of them. All right. Magazines are where the magic happens for the Sig. And just show you what these look like compared to each other. Very, very similar in size and dimensions and everything. So pretty impressive there. They were able to get 12 rounds out of a gun that's essentially the, oh, hey, we just found something out. Look at that. That locks up into the CZ. I cannot pull that out. That's freaking weird. Doesn't lock the slide back, but it does lock up in the gun. How about that? Let's see something here. Well, might as well try it. I don't think it's going to work. Nope. Yeah. Huh. Look at that. That's super ugly, but man, it actually locks up in there. That's crazy. All right. So the Sig P365 XL mags actually lock up in your CZ if you were wondering. So very close in size, in overall dimensions. Let's talk about some of the specs that separate these guns apart. Starting with the Sig, front and rear slide serrations, rounded off trigger guard, high undercut. Nice beaver tail back here. One thing I raved on this gun in the review is how this gun feels in the hand. And they added a little bit more length, gave you 2 more rounds. They made this magazine well a little bit wider, flared it out a little bit so you can get your mags in and out. A nice, really good feeling gun in the hand. X-ray sights. You got a nice ledge here if you want to do your one-handed manipulations. Loaded viewport up there, and a reversible magazine release. And the grip texturing is rough on this gun. Definitely rougher than the CZ. Same texturing all the way around. And it feels really good in the hand. You just want to keep in mind maybe an undershirt between your skin and this grip. That might be helpful because it can get to you after a while. Slide stop, very minimal. Takedown lever right there. And a proprietary rail. And I do have the TLR6 that I ran on this gun. The Foxtrot, the Lima, the TLR6, all of those will work on this rail. Very nice looking gun as well. And then this one does have the plate here. So no screw holes up here. You actually have to take the slide off to get this plate off. And then you can run a variety of optics on top of this. All right, let me show you features on the CZ P10S. Front and rear slide serrations. And this is something that I raved about in this review, are these serrations. Because they just give you a really nice lockup. And whenever you're actually charging the gun, they're very aggressive. And I really like them a lot. Doing your press checks is super easy on this gun, so I really do like that. Rail up here, no problem hooking any kind of light or laser up here with that one slot. Very similar to a Glock. And then you have a squared off trigger guard here that is serrated in the front. Up underneath, they do have it cut so you can get your hand high up on this gun as well. I'll put them both in my hand like that so you can see what the bore axis looks like if that's something that concerns you. So that's what each gun looks like. And this gun, it feels great as well. And what I like that they did is they made it aggressive on the front and the rear strap, but they made it more subtle on the sides. So when you're concealed carrying, this right here is what's touching your skin as opposed to these rough pyramids in the back. So they did a really nice job with this grip texturing. Magazine release is reversible. Mags are not interchangeable from the older CZ P10Cs, which is what I have. If you see these two slots here, two cuts in the mag, then you will be able to use the newer CZ mags. If yours does not have it, if it only has the two, the one cut out on each side, then you won't be able to use it. I go over that more in the individual, in the standalone review of the CZ P10C. And what they did is they made the magazine release, which is nicely textured there. I really like that. They made it much easier to get these mags in and out of the gun. All right, they made it reversible now instead of a full-time ambi release, and it's made a huge difference. Slide stop is ambidextrous on this gun. Nice, and it's wide, but it doesn't stick out from the gun. So if you can see this, it is very flush to the frame there, which is nice. And the Sig is too, but it sticks out just a little bit more, which hasn't caused a problem, but it's not ambidextrous though either. So left-handed shooters may appreciate the CZ having an ambidextrous magazine release. One other nice little touch that I love that CZ does are these little stippled areas right here. So when you go to fire, you got your thumb right there. You can rest it on the edge of the frame right there, and you got a little bit of stippling for your finger to grip onto, which is really nice. It's on both sides of the gun, of course. You can actually get this optics ready. This obviously is not the optics ready version, but you know, I don't know whatever the cost is. It's a little bit more to get the optics ready if that's something that you want to do. Somebody made a good point in our last video when we reviewed this gun, because I'm not totally sold on it. I don't hate the idea, but I'm not totally sold on it either. So I'm kind of in between, but for somebody with, you know, eyes that aren't as young as they used to be, the optics on pistols might be a good idea. And I can respect that, and I definitely get it. And like I said, I do see benefits to it. It's just not for me. Not yet, anyways. My opinion can change if something better is out there and comes along, or if I find out about it, or if my opinion just changes. Sometimes your opinion changes. It is what it is. But a nice set of sights on this gun. One thing that bothers me of the sights is that you have a blacked out rear, which isn't the problem. The problem is there is no tritium inserts on the rear sight. So if you're trying to line up a shot, you know, somebody attacks you at night or something like that, it's going to be hard to line up that shot. The front sight is really nice though. It's orange. It's got a tritium insert, orange ring around it, really easy to pick up. Both guns offer a lot, and they have a lot of features. One thing I did want to talk about, because I talked about it on this one, you see how the stippling there on the magazine release on the CZ, it's very solid, positive. The magazine release is kind of canted back towards the trigger guard right here, and then it's flat on top, so it's really easy to get to. Release the mag, insert a fresh mag, boom, you're good to go. The Sig is not bagged, but it's pretty much on a slant towards the trigger guard right away, so I find myself having to camp my hand just a little bit to hit that mag, to be able to, that magazine release, to be able to release the mag there. So it's just one little point I wanted to make. It seems like CZ kind of thought about this a little bit more by keeping it flat and flush for the shooter, right, like that, and then slanting it back off to keep the size down and just keep it as sleek as they possibly could while making it functional at the same time. So let's talk about the way they carry here really quick, and then we'll go to the range. We'll shoot a little bit, and then we'll come back, talk about pros and cons and all that good stuff. But carry is very similar here. So you have about 4 ounces difference. The CZ obviously is a little bit heavier, and then you're going to load it up with ammo. So it is about 4 ounces heavier. And this is not recommended by Tolster. I want to make that perfectly clear. But I've been carrying in their the CZ P10C holster. You can see it's a little bit longer at the muzzle. It seems to lock up just fine. I actually need to tighten this up a little bit, but seems to lock up just fine. And the gun actually carries really well. It's not going to be like Glock 42 or even LC9 like weight. If you're carrying a gun like that, you're going to notice a pretty big difference between this and that. But it's very similar to this gun right here, which I carry in a Tolster holster as well. Both guns are very similar. You're going to notice a little bit of weight. Like, let's say the P365. Let me bring this gun in, the P365. Let's say this was on your threshold. So you were pocket carrying or inside the waistband. This gun was almost too big, but it was the perfect size and you shot well with it, and you're like, man, if I go any bigger than this, I don't think I would carry the gun, or I think the weight would get to me, or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's not all men watching our channel. There are some women that are patrons, that are subscribers, and something like this, and even on Mrs. Headshot, this is at the limit of what she can carry inside the waistband and not be printing all over the place. Where it's abundantly clear she has a gun on her. This is the max. So this right here is going to be a little bit too much weight, a little too bulky, even for some males out there. I mean, it is what it is. You know, if you're sensitive to weight, or your job can't see you carrying, or whatever the case may be, these guns are in a different ball field. You have to commit more to be carrying guns like this, as opposed to something like this, or a Glock 42, or a Ruger LCP, and so on and so forth. So I just want to throw that out there. That's where you stand with these guns. They're about in the Glock 26 range of things, or the MP9 Compact, which they just announced the M2.0 version. So hopefully we can get one of those, and that'll be a really sweet comparison. But that's the kind of gun you're talking about. You really got to commit if you're going to carry a gun like this. That does not mean that these guns are super heavy or anything like that. It just means they're in a different ball field of gun. This is for the person that wants to make sure that they have the best shooting, smallest concealed carry gun on them at all times. And I love this size of firearms. All right, so we talked about a lot there. Let's get you guys to the range. We'll take you to the range with us. We'll shoot some rounds downrange. And then when we come back, we'll talk about the triggers, and then we'll talk about pros and cons and which one I like better and why. We will see you guys in a minute. All right, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Both guns are awesome at the range. I'm just going to say that right now. You don't have to do a whole bunch of reloading. A couple extra magazines wouldn't hurt, that's for sure. But you can really put shots on target with these guns, have a fun time, and that's what I really appreciate about them. And then you can leave the range carrying a gun that you know that you can get rounds on target if anything like that ever happens. That's pretty cool. All right, so the Sig P365 XL, if you were to put an optic on this thing, man, 50, 60, 70 yards, I honestly believe you could really do some, put some rounds in there at that distance with this gun, because it's such a good shooting firearm, comfortable to hold in the hand. Once my hands started sweating, that grip texturing really comes into play. A natural point and shoot type of gun. The sights are just awesome on it. And that green dot up front, man, really draws your eye right to that. Lines everything up really nicely. This gun feels amazing in the hand. I like that they flared the magazine well. That makes it obviously easier to get the mags in and out. And the trigger is not bad either. Let me show you that. So they flatten the trigger out with their X series type of trigger here. All right, so you hit the wall right there. And it breaks. Kind of a clunky sound to it when it breaks. Reset. And it just kind of, it kind of sounds plasticky. I don't know, it's weird. So let me pull it on this gauge. 5 pounds, 8 ounces. It is not a bad trigger at all. I just wanted to kind of point that out. Hold on. Oop. I lost this battery compartment over a year ago. I don't know what I did with it. All right, let's try it one more time here. You know, 5.5 pounds. That's about where it is. The CZ at the range feels like a bigger gun. No doubt about it. Pointing, shooting, this gun feels awesome. Your eye is automatically drawn to that big orange dot. And the sights on these guns are very similar. I mean, really, they are scary similar. But it's just such an awesome shooting gun. They made the magazine release so much more responsive, and getting those mags in and out are really it really is a joy to shoot. At the range, man, this thing is just awesome. Let me show you the trigger on this one. All right, you can see you have a blade style trigger on this one. That is one of your safeties. And then you hit the wall and it breaks. Reset. Let me do that again. And you'll see there's a little bit of creep in the trigger, but not much. Very, very nice trigger on this gun. Very good shooting gun. And let's pull the trigger on the CZ. 5 pounds, 7 ounces. 5 pounds, 12 ounces. So about 5.5 pounds as well. All right, so I did want to mention something about our shooting experience. Somebody had mentioned in the standalone review, because we had some issues with this gun. Somebody had mentioned that they thought we were riding the slide stop. So for me to ride the slide stop on this gun, it is very flush to the frame. So I literally have to bring my finger, and I'll try to get my thumb where I can show you. But this is how I normally hold my thumb, and then I got my support hand here. All right, so it is definitely possible, but I don't think I was riding the slide. Just because it's so flush to the frame, I literally have to dig my thumb in and down, and I just don't see me doing that. And Miss Techshot has even smaller fingers, and even though it is a wide slide stop, it's so flush, man, you really have to try and do that. So I don't think that was it. I think because we did get a little bit of sand in there, or the break-in period, I think that is more likely of what was going on. And then, you know, obviously with the SIG, we haven't had any issues with it, but that slide stop is even further up, so you have even less of a chance of that happening with this firearm. this is a possibility. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I just don't think so, because I really have to try and do that. And I have to adjust my thumb in a kind of uncomfortable position to even do that. So I just wanted to point that out. But overall, 40 yards, up close, 10 yards. This gun shot like a dream. It did an awesome job. Once we figured the issues out, I was a little bit nervous. I ain't going to lie. But once we figured that out, man, it's awesome. One benefit this gun has is you actually have removable back straps. So if you have larger hands, you can go with the large. Or if you want a little bit more hump in the rear right there, a little more hump in the rear, you have a medium back strap that you can run on this gun. Whereas the P365, it is what it is. All right. Comparing that really quick, you can see the humps on the back strap there. They are very similar. They have a little bit of a hump to them. I think the CZ has a little bit more. So there you go. All right, so let's talk about pros and cons. The pros and cons when we do a comparison is a little bit different, because I'm now comparing these two guns. So whereas there may be pros and cons that I mentioned in the standalone reviews, just looking at those guns, now I'm comparing the two. So keep that in mind. Sometimes some of these pros and cons, you may think, well, that doesn't really seem like a con or maybe a pro, but it's because I'm comparing the two guns. So let's go ahead and get into this. Pros on the P365, the trigger, the sights, the way it feels in the hand, this gun, they did a great job. They added the optics plate, so for somebody with bad eyes, or you just want to run an optic on your pistol, that's a good thing. And it's not an intrusive. It actually looks really nice because they didn't put the screw holes up top. It makes it a little harder to get this plate off, but I think it gives it a cleaner look. Overall, this gun shoots like a bigger gun. You get 2 more rounds than the regular P365. And I haven't had any issues out of this one. Now, I know there has been some issues out there, but Justin Opinion had an issue with his whole gun locking up, But, I mean, I haven't had any issues so far, so that's a good thing. And then there's 15 round mags available for this gun now, which is obviously a good thing as well if you live in a free state. The CZ P10C, I really do like the sights. I just wish they would have put a tritium sight in the rear. The trigger, the magazine release now, the grip texturing, and the thought behind the grip texturing and what they did there, the magazine release, all of that is just awesome. And the way this gun shoots, it instills a lot of confidence carrying a gun like this. Cons, so let's talk about that. I think the sights, the P365 XL, I think the sights win. And I only think they win. I'll say that I think the green dot is easier to pick up during the daytime, at least for my eyes, compared to the orange. And I really don't like that they didn't do a rear tritium insert for the rear sight. To me, that doesn't make any sense. But I do like the fact that they give you an option to run a plate on this gun, whereas this one they don't. So if for whatever reason you don't want an optics ready P365 XL, well, right now you don't have that option. You just have to go with it, and that it is what it is. So there's a little bit of a nod to the CZ that they give you both of those as an option, and not too much more cost for that. You get backstrap options with the CZ, whereas you don't on the P365 XL. The slide serrations on this gun, I think, are light years above the XL. Where the XL only has a few of them, they work pretty good. But when you compare that to the CZ, where these are very aggressive, they're a lot longer, and no matter what kind of situation you're in, I can't think of a situation where I couldn't get to that, easily charge the gun back up, and be ready to go. The slide stop, I think on the P365 XL is a little bit better because you can actually use it as a release if you want. The CZ P10S, you can use it as a release, but man, it takes some pressure to get that thing down there, and I'm not even kidding. There we go. See, it's very hard to use that as a release, and I don't really like that. But the actual slide stop, I like it on this gun, but I think it's a little bit better on the P365 XL because they put a little bit of a ledge there. Not only can you use it as a release, but you can also get to it a little bit easier, and it is guarded from up underneath. So I think Sig did a better job as far as that. The magazine release on this gun, it's fine. The mags pop out just fine. It's a flared mag well, which is better than the CZ. But I like the magazine, the release, and everything better on the CZ. Personally, I like the way the mags pop out of there a little bit quicker, and I like the way they design their magazine release. I think it's a little bit better. Now, the proprietary rail that is on the Sig is a disadvantage in my opinion because it's proprietary. So whereas I can run pretty much any attachment on my CZ, it's not so much for the XL. All right. So pretty much anything that'll accept a Glock rail, which is almost everything, you can run on that CZ. Shooting, I'm going to give the nod to the CZ. I like this gun better at the range, although we did have some issues that drops it down a little bit in my book. But we were able to resolve those issues and didn't have any issues the rest of the day. And we shot this gun a lot. But I really love this gun at the range. Where this gun falls compared to the XL is in the weight. So you have 4 more ounces there. All right. It doesn't seem like a big deal but when you're putting a hunk of metal and plastic in your pants, it can affect you. All right. That 4 ounces can make a little bit of a difference. It's, in my opinion, I don't think it makes enough difference to justify one over the other, but it is a con compared to this one because, you know, you need to try to keep these things as light as you can when you're talking about concealed carry guns. Overall, I like the trigger on this gun. I like the way this gun shoots better, and I'd be willing to deal with the weight more with the CZ P10S. I personally like it better than the XL, and that's just my opinion. It's a close race. I would take either gun probably either day, but if I had my choice, I'd go with the CZ P10S. I just personally like it better, and I like the way it shoots. I think it's an awesome, classy looking, awesome, functional concealed carry gun. So there you go. I want to hear what your opinion is down in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you are a Power patron or up, look for your outro coming right after this. We'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, hold 'em down.